come the stars come to shine when it's dark from so far away? Show us where we are. What makes the sun go to sleep every night, and what's it dreaming of? I wonder. How come the sky sometimes hides behind the clouds? Maybe it's just like me, a little bit scared of heights. Why does the rain always keep on pouring down when it's gray outside? It really makes me wonder. Yeah, it makes me wonder. It really makes me wonder.
Hey guys, so you can see that there is snow and it rained a little bit today, so some of it's melting and you can see the grass poking up. But for the most part, it is the end of January and we are still in winter, but that does not mean that you can't plant anything. And I will show you what I have been up to and what I'm doing today. So this is my first year trying winter sowing. And if you live in a cold climate like me that does get snow or rain and consistent watering, it's definitely easier. But you can also do this if you live in a desert or dry climate too. You would just have to make sure that you give it a good water every once in a while. So basically all you do is you take milk jugs and you poke some holes at the bottom so there's drainage, and you cut on 3 sides, and you only leave it attached about a couple of inches where the handle is, so it creates like a hinge that you can open and close. And then you go ahead and you fill the bottom portion with some potting soil, and you just sprinkle your seeds in, you tap them in, make sure they're firm, and water it in, and then duct tape it. So a lot of people will do vegetables like this, but this year, because this is my first year and I had quite a bit of flower seeds, I decided to just go ahead and do my flowers this year like this, see how they do, and maybe next year I'll expand more on it. But so far, and I'm basically just, whenever we have an empty jug, I just clean it out and then start. So you can see I started on the 21st and started with forget-me-nots, then hollyhocks, these are the black ones, some Canterbury bells, more hollyhocks, light pink, scabiosa, salvia, and then bells of Ireland. So I will be doing some more. This is good, especially if you have things that need some cold stratification. Obviously they're in very cold temperatures, you know, probably about the 20s, 30s normally, and getting snowed on, getting rained on. So they will just wake up on their own in the spring when everything starts to warm up, and that's it. Basically the jugs act as a little greenhouse. The jugs in the winter sowing are definitely a more economical, very low budget way of doing things. But if you do have a little bit extra money to spend, getting a grow system like this, or even just using shelves with like shop lights, that works. I've seen lots of people do that. So this is my little seed starting setup. I would love to add more someday, but for right now, this works. And I have quite a mixture of things here. So I have some house plants I was given. I have some perennials that I ordered that I'm giving them like a jump start, and some teeny tiny like plant starts also down at the bottom that I bought that I'm just growing on until they're big enough to pot up. So, but I did start some seeds. So I am in zone 5A, 5B, depending on which website I log my zip code into. But I'm in zone 5, upstate New York. So we have, I would say, like a fairly average growing season. It's not a short season. Usually what it says my last frost date is like the middle of May, and I can grow pretty much until the first frost, which is like end of October-ish. But I think it varies really depending on the year. So last year I was able to put things in the ground actually in March. I mean, it did freeze a few more times, but as long as I put like a dome over them, they were fine. So this year, I'm doing these a little bit differently. I am not getting ahead of myself. Last year, it was really like a timing thing. I started things quite a bit early that I shouldn't have, mainly because I was excited. We were in a new zone and new house, and I just really wanted to garden. But this year, I'm kind of taking a more relaxed approach, and I am only starting things that I know are going to take a while to get going. And I'm also doing 2 different things this year when it comes to actually starting the seeds. So as you can see right here, I have a very small, I forget what this is. I want to say it's a 128, maybe it's a 244, but how many rows and individual cells there are. So this year I'm actually starting all of my onions and some of my shallots from seed. Last year I bought they called starts. I think they're starts. It's not the miniature bulbs. It's the actual plants that are started, which are what these are going to turn into. So I bought them from Dixondale. Second time using them, first time up here, but both times I've just really been underwhelmed with how they've performed. And I think a lot of that has to do with just, traveling and the way that it's packaged. And, they go through a little bit of probably shock. I know a lot of people recommend them and use them and have no issues, but the onions that I've gotten the 2 times I've used them, they just haven't been great. So this year I decided to go ahead and start my own seeds. As you can see, a lot of them have come up, they've sprouted. I have had some temperature fluctuations, and that's why you see a lot of them lying down. Some of them have kind of like jumped out of their cell trays. But for the most part, I'm happy with the germination, and I am going to order a couple more varieties because this is only 3 varieties, and it's not enough. We go through a lot of onions in this house. So I do have shallots that are already planted in the ground. Those are bulbing, multiplying shallots, and I have them out with my garlic. I planted those in fall, but these were seeds, and I want to try this variety as well. So I I don't remember. I know I got them from Fruition Seeds, but I don't remember the variety. I think I have the pack still in the box. So, but I've got these, what is it, 5 rows of shallots. Then I have the Rasa di Milano, which is a red onion and it's a long day. I have to do long days up here. So I've got all these rows of those. And then I have a yellow onion, which is the New York Early. So I definitely want to get a few more. I think I'm going to order more seeds from Johnny's because I would like to get a couple more storage onions. These aren't particularly long storing onions. I would like to grow a specific onion that is for storage. So, but you can see they all did good. They have germinated and, you know, they're growing. I'm not worried so much about like having seed heads on them. You can see because what you do once they get a little bit taller, I'm going to come in with scissors and trim them down so all of those seed heads will be gone, and then I'll just use what I trim kind of like fresh chives into a recipe or something, and they'll put more energy into creating roots and they'll start to get thicker and thicker, and you know, they're not going to be planted out there for a little while, so they'll have plenty of time to grow on. I might end up potting them up, I'm not sure yet, so we'll just see how it goes. But one thing I wanted to do differently this year, instead of just putting all the onions in like a clump and then sorting them out one by one and poking like one by one holes to plant them, I tried to put a few seeds in each cell. Now obviously some, you know, only have one germinated, and then like there's one back here that's got quite a bit that's probably going to need to be separated. But the idea that I'm hoping is that I'll just be able to plant clumps, and then as the onions obviously bulb out, they're kind of push away from each other, and it won't be that big of a deal. But it'll just save me some time, I think, when I go to plant these out, instead of trying to plant 1,000 onions, so one by one. So that's that. The other thing that I started, and I will show you the seed packets of them, is herbs. Lots of herbs. Herbs take a really long time to get going and to get to a good size to be transplanted. So I have these sitting on a heat mat. Once the majority of them have germinated and popped through the soil, I will remove the heat mat and just continue to let them grow normally. And you can see that I am using teeny tiny soil blockers for this. And I have done soil blocking in the past. I used to use it in Florida. I didn't do it last year. I haven't done it in a few years actually, but I'm gonna bring it back. I really like the way that it works, and I like the way that my plant starts you know, work out for me. So I'm trying that this year. And as a bonus, you know, you can start a lot more seeds in a small space. So this in particular, this soil blocker does 20 at a time. Got 240 just in this small little tray right here. And if I put them closer together, I probably could fit one more, but this is good for now. So okay, so you can see that my first tab here is February, and if you didn't catch this video of how I am organizing my I guess seed starting method this year, I can link it below. I think it's my last video actually, but it's super simple, and I basically have it marked down by rows of, I have it marked down as tabs of what I need to do on which month. And as you can see, I'm getting a little bit of a head start, but not much. Last year I had things started at the beginning of January. So this year I waited until the end of January, which gives enough time for some of these much longer germinating, growing things to get going. So I wanted to show you here. So what I'm doing, I'm keeping my empty seed packets as well, so I will know what to put in my inventory. So these were the ones that were in the milk jugs. You can see here I've got the black hollyhocks, the Canterbury bells, the pink hollyhocks, and I don't think the rest of these are empty. No, they're not. So in the herbs, the little soil blocks, I have oregano. I also have celery. I have pink celery. Salad burnet. Sweet marjoram. Summer savory. Tarragon. And rosemary. Rosemary is not a perennial up here, unfortunately. So if you know of a cold hardy rosemary, I would love to hear it, because kind of a pain having to start new rosemary every year. I did try to bring it in and save it. It lasted for a couple of months, and I recently just threw it away because it just wasn't looking too good. So I think I also started lemon mint in that tray. I think that's it. So, and then these here are the onions. So fruition seed, and I had 2 packs of each, it looks like. So the New York Early, the Rasa di Milano is a red onion. I'm sorry about the noise in the back. That is my dogs wrestling. And this was the shallot, which I definitely don't know how to pronounce. So, but it's one of those longer, I think they call them like banana shallots. So that's very different than the one that I have that's a multiplier out with the garlic. So wanted to try it. So those are empty. And I also, in the herb tray, which I'm going to be starting more of these because I kind of have an idea that I want to test out. And these are from Johnny's, and they only have an 80% germination. And you can see I bought these in 21. So I'm probably going to try to use this whole bag up because they're a little bit older, and see how they do. So I'm gonna do more of those. Let me keep my empties together. So, but today I'm going to be starting a few more things, and I am going to be starting artichokes. So I have 2 packs here, different companies. This one is from Territorial Seed, and this one is from Baker Creek. Yeah. So you can see here that it does not have fantastic germination, and so that's a little bit concerning. These are an older seed, and I did grow these last year, and I don't remember how many I started, but I know that I ended up with 3 plants, and they did produce. and it was just an experiment because I was never able to grow artichokes successfully in Florida because it's too humid there. So that's something you have to consider when you see something that says, oh, you can grow artichokes from zone 7 to 11 or whatever. In theory, yes, they do like the heat, but they like a dry heat. So a place like Florida or, South Georgia or whatever, those places might be a little too humid. I know Florida is because I tried many years and you just could not do it. You could grow them to a certain point, and then once they were outside in the heat of summer, they just really succumbed to too much disease. So that's something to consider if you're looking to move to a warmer climate, that just because of the zone doesn't necessarily mean you can grow more. So I was able to grow up here artichokes successfully. I did get a harvest from them, and even though they are an annual up here, the fact that I can grow them is very exciting because we love artichokes. So I'm going to be growing these again. I'm actually probably just going to use up the packet, and I probably will just go ahead and do this whole packet too. Like I said, I'm doing the mini soil blocker, so I have the room that I can start all of these, and hopefully I get good germination and I'm able to grow quite a bit this year. So there's two different kinds. There's the Colorado Red Star, and then I have the Imperial Star. So let's get moving, and I'll show you how I do the soil blocker. Okay, so soil blocking is super easy. I originally used this one first. This was, I think it's the 1 inch or 2 inch, and you do 4 at a time. You pack it full of soil, you press it down, pull up, and it leaves you with perfect little squares that have indentations in them that you put the seeds. So this one works great if you are growing something that is going to get big pretty quickly. I did a lot of tomatoes in these, peppers, things like that. But then shortly after I started using this one, I realized that space was kind of an issue, and that I was using a lot of soil still and not getting 100% germination. So sometimes you would end up with a lot of blocks that didn't germinate, and then you had to very carefully get them out and move things around and recycle that soil. So I went ahead and got the mini blocker, which is primarily just to get things germinating and giving them a little bit of a head start before putting them in here. So the reason I really like the mini blocker is, like you saw with the herbs, I'm able to pretty much get 4 rows comfortably. I could probably do 5 if I squeezed it in, but I like leaving a little bit of a space because that's where I water, and I let the little mini block kind of absorb the water. So with the mini, you get just this tiny little tool. Like I said, it's got 20 of them. So same situation, you're gonna put it into your mix, you put it flat down, you press, you pull, and it leaves you with 20 little blocks that you're able to drop the seed in, and hopefully you get good germination. And then you later on can make the bigger ones and take those little small squares and put them into these to let them grow on a little bit more. Or if you want to use like a plastic grow cup at that point, you can do that too. So the reason that I really like this, like I said, you're using less soil, so it's less wasting, and you're able to see really quickly how many have germinated. So if you want to do like another tray of something, you can, or if you've got plenty, then you don't have to worry about it instead of waiting for these bigger blocks and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how they work. So this is basically just a seed starting mix, a sterile seed starting mix. I do add a little bit of compost into it, but it's sifted, so it's really, really fine. There shouldn't be any chunks in there. And that's what you want. There's, in the seed starting mix, it looks like there's some vermiculite. Vermiculite is another thing that I will use usually on top. That just helps to keep the water in and keep the seeds moist. So let me set you up and I'll show you how this works. Fancy setup I've got going on here. So I just use a broken wooden spoon to mix things up. I also use this to scrape the bottom of the soil blocker to make sure that the bottom is level. Okay. So all you're gonna do is you're gonna take your soil blocker and you're gonna hold it by this part first, because if you try to hold it like this, you're gonna accidentally press and release the soil. So all I do is I get in there and I just kind of wiggle it. And this is pre-moistened. I like using hot water because I feel like it helps the seed starter mix to absorb better. And you want it a little wet. You want, when you press, you want to see a little bit of water coming out, but you don't want it like soaking wet. So you can see here that it's pretty packed in. So all I'm gonna do now at this point is, you can see some of it needs to be scraped. So I just kind of go like that. Get it as flat as possible. And then I just start in the corner and I press, and sometimes you need to give it a little shake, and you can see here that it came out clean and got a little brownie. So you can see it's perfectly separated, and I don't know if you can see, but there's teeny tiny indentations, and that's where we're gonna put our seed. So let me get this tray filled up and I will show you the next step. Okay, so in about, I don't know, 5 to 10 minutes, I was able to do all these soil blocks. So this time I actually rotated the soil blocker so it went more long than wide, and I was able to squeeze 2 more in. So this tray actually has 280 little plant starts we'll be able to put on one tray. So I don't think I have that many artichoke seeds, so we'll have plenty of room to either put more herbs, or maybe I will do some flower seeds as well. So let me set you down and show you what I do. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the Colorado Red. See that? So this is the one that is by Baker Creek that is saying it has low germination. And you can see what artichoke seeds look like. So there's not a whole bunch of them. But all I'm gonna do is poke them into the middle of these little soil blocks. Let's see how many we get out of this. we're gonna have 19. So all I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna remove this one little block, and you can just see how easy that is. So I've got 19 there. So I'm gonna take a little stake with my garden marker, and I am going to write down what it is. And there's really nothing to poke into right now, so all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna lay it back there. And then when I go to plant these up, I will have that as a guide. So now I'm gonna go ahead and do the other label. Thought I would give them a try. So those are the Imperial Star Artichokes. And all I'm gonna do is kind of use it as a divider for right now and put that in the middle so I know where the next batch is going to start. So let me go ahead and get this open. So I will say between the two companies, I do like that the Territorial Seeds actually comes with a good bit of directions, and I tend to stick with seed companies that like that. I do like Baker Creek because you can get some interesting varieties from them, but honestly, if anybody from them in marketing happens to come across this video and watch it, I think that you guys could definitely improve upon the back. So that's just my opinion. I like to know as much information as possible when I'm starting my seeds. So this one has a 70% germination. Again, not many seeds. These are big seeds, so, but each plant of an artichoke produces between 1 and 3 usually. Now, obviously, if you can grow these as a perennial in your area, that's even better because you grow it, plant it once, comes back year after year, you don't have to worry about it. But for somebody that can only grow it as an annual, it could add up. It would be an expensive crop to grow if you wanted to try to sell it. But I'm not planning on doing that. So all I'm doing is I'm just laying it in the little divot that was created by the cedar. And I'm just kind of giving a little press in. Okay, so again, it was the same thing. Oh no, actually, because this was 3. So I've got 20, 25, 29. So I got 10 more out of that pack. But to be fair, I did grow the Baker Creek ones last year. So now, actually, all I'm going to do is I'm going to come back in the row that I'm like removing. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put a little bit of soil on top, tap it down a little bit, because it's said to plant these about 1/4 deep. And I want to make sure if they do pop up, they have a good solid base to hang on to. Putting a little bit of soil on top and patting it down. So I'm going to continue to do this with the artichoke seeds and then show you what I do next. Okay, now that I have my little seeds covered up, I am going to come back with just a little bit of vermiculite just to make sure everything stays nice and moist as everything is germinating. Vermiculite is really good at holding on to moisture. So if you do have dry soil, it's a good thing to mix into it. Just keeps everything consistent. And that is pretty much it. So in this small little space right here, out of this whole tray, I have close to 50 artichoke babies that are going to be hopefully popping up very soon. And you can see I have all this left to fill. So not only is it a time saver, it's a huge space saver, and it's a big reason why I am coming back to this technique of starting seeds again this year. So now the question is going to be, what do I do? Do I leave this and wait until we get later into February, or should I just go ahead and plant some flowers and things? There are things that I do want to start just for my garden, not so much food, but like I have some grass seed that I want to start, some ornamental grass seed. So maybe I'll do some of those. I'm definitely going to do another row of the garlic chives because like I said, I have a little bit of a plan I want to try with that and just see how that works. But I will bring you back to this. It says like 10 to 20 days on both of them. Yeah, so I'm going to bring you back in like 2 weeks and let you see what this looks like and go from there. But so this is what's going on right now in my area. Like I said, I am in upstate New York, in the center of the state pretty much, and I am a zone 5. So this is what I'm starting in late January, going into February. So don't worry, even though there's snow on the ground, guys, there is stuff that you can start this time of year. You just have to be creative in doing it and give it the proper stuff that it needs, and you will be on your way to a beautiful garden come spring. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. I will talk to you soon, friends. Take care.